Spousal support is the amount of money the higher earning spouse pays the lower earning spouse in a family law case. If the facts warrant it, a judge will make a decision about how much money the higher earning spouse will pay the lower earning spouse for the duration of the case. There are two basic considerations. One is called temporary support. That is the amount of support from the beginning of the divorce case until the end of the divorce case. After that, it's referred to as permanent support. Permanent support doesn't mean you pay it forever. It just distinguishes it from temporary support. Temporary support is calculated by using a computer formula. Permanent support is calculated by using a series of statutory factors. The most important one is the marital standard of living. Spousal support in general is paid for half the length of the marriage. I emphasize in general. Each case is negotiated individually, and there are many ways spousal support can be paid. You can have an open-ended monthly payment with no set termination date. You can have a period of time where the parties agree the support will be paid. You can have various ways to pay it. You can buy it out at the end of the case for a lump sum payment. It's also possible to have something called a step-down provision, where gradually over time the support is reduced until it's zero. The spouse who receives the support has a duty to become self-supporting. Sometimes this is a bit of a fiction in the law because the spouse who is being paid the spousal support already has completed their education. They already have a job, and there's not much that's likely to change about that, but nevertheless, they are awarded spousal support to allow for a financial transition out of the marriage. Each case must be looked at individually. Spousal support is often one of the harder issues to resolve in a case because it is a negotiation or a court order in the middle of a personal separation, and sometimes the emotional issues surrounding the personal issues or the end of the personal relationships tend to cause the spouse who's paying the support to have a lot of difficulty and feel it's not fair, and the spouse who's receiving the support feel that it's not enough. So we want to pay particular attention and analyze the issues in each case. If you come and talk to me, these are one of the issues that we will look at very carefully to give you some likely scenarios about how spousal support will be adjudicated in your case. There is a consideration given to the length of marriage. If you're married less than 10 years, it's considered a short-term marriage, and the spousal support is more easily negotiated because it's generally for a shorter period of time. However, if the marriage is more than 10 years, it's considered a long-term marriage. And that allows for the court to retain jurisdiction over the issue of spousal support if the parties don't reach an agreement that terminates the court's authority to take up the issue again at a future point. Again, this can be a very complex issue with significant considerations with significant issues to be analyzed. I think really one of the hardest things about spousal support is you're going into the future 5, 6, 7, 8 years or even longer, and so many things can change, and all you can do is evaluate the issues based upon now when you're actually looking at them, but things change over time. So careful construction of the spousal support order is very, very important. You want to, if you're representing the party who pays the support, what you're looking for is a reasonable payment over time and an absolute termination date. If you're representing the party who's receiving the support, obviously you want to leave it open for them to collect support for as long as the law will allow or the circumstances, the facts of the case will allow. Again, there is a duty on the part of the spouse who receives spousal support to become self-supporting. In the beginning of the case, the judges don't seem to expect parties to quickly return to work. Sometimes people need to more education or job training. So oftentimes in the beginning, if you come back into court and you want to tell the court the other person is not fulfilling their duty to become self-supporting, the judge will give them a significant amount of time to accomplish that, especially if they were a stay-at-home mom or were not working during the marriage. Eventually, they will be held to account and be required to demonstrate what efforts they're making to become self-supporting. The direction of the law is moving towards bringing more pressure to bear on the spouse who has to become self-supporting. It was troublesome in the past to articulate this argument that the spouse who received spousal support was not fulfilling their duty to become self-supporting. The standard for modifying spousal support, if you have an open-ended spousal support order that you just pay a certain amount every month, that kind of order you can come back into court and change it according to the circumstances as they arise. If the paying spouse says that the other spouse, the recipient spouse, is not fulfilling their duty to become self-supporting, in the past, that was not considered to be a change of circumstances that would support a request for a modification of support. Generally, modifications mean that you want to lower the support. It's pretty rare for support to be increased once an order for support has been issued. But increasingly, the law moves in a direction that says it is a valid argument, it is a change of circumstances if the supported spouse does not make efforts to become self-supporting. Efforts to become self-supporting mean they're either enrolled in some sort of job training or educational program, and they're not enrolling and dropping out and enrolling and dropping out, but they're actually making progress towards acquiring job skills. Or that they need to demonstrate they've gone out into the workplace and they are applying for jobs, whether that's on the internet, whether they get with an employment agency that places them. They have to demonstrate they're making concrete steps, concrete verifiable steps to obtain employment.